And thank you guys for joining tonight. I actually had a ton of fun putting together this presentation. This is a conversation that I am having with doctors and dentists and orthodontists on a weekly basis. And so this was honestly actually very therapeutic to put so many of my conversations into a presentation and touches on a lot of good subjects. So we'll dive in tonight on how to build your brand to target millennials. I am Steven Busch and I am a millennial, so I'm going to refer to millennials as myself and as we go out throughout the presentation. I am a little bit of a background about me: a husband, a dad to a 7-year-old girl, 5-year-old boy. I'm their soccer coaches too, so I get to wear a lot of hats for that. A dog dad and a runner and a biker when it's nice outside. When I'm not with family, my job's pretty cool. I get to help orthodontic offices get more patients from the internet. We have an agency that does website, SEO, social media marketing, digital ads, logo and branding, and that's really the area that I'm gonna focus on this evening. Quick housekeeping note, you'll see at the bottom right of all of my slides, you'll see a QR code. I invite you to scan it. What it is our company has put a lot of pride into educating just doctors that we get to talk to on a daily basis. And so we put together these training videos that cover everything from SEO to online branding to Google business profile setup, social media tips and tricks. So we have a lot of good stuff on there. It's all free, but there's so much to cover. So I really enjoy putting content into our training videos, but you can check that out at any time. But diving in, millennials, they are right now aging 27 to 43, and they have kids anywhere between 0 to 21-year-olds. So as a successful orthodontic practice, you are absolutely going to need to target the millennials that are, one, wanting to buy for themselves, and two, the decision makers for their kids. I feel like the millennials have a really unique life perspective because I feel like it's the last generation that understood that when you saw all the bikes outside of your friend's house, you knew that's where your friends were hanging out. There was no text chain, there was no Facebook group or Snapchat or anything like that. We were the last generation that got to escape childhood without technology, and yet be the first generation that gets to walk into understanding what it means to live in this new technological world. And we're the first ones to sign up for all the Meta and VR headsets and everything like that. And so really it's the only generation that got to see the before and after of the old world and the new world, that we'll call it. We are the generation that's the death of the printer. We don't have a printer. The last printer that we had was going to be sitting at our parents' house next to the computer that we were downloading LimeWire songs and putting viruses onto our parents' computer, and that is the last printer I've owned. So we will never print anything. We'll absolutely never fax anything. We don't like to be called. That's a last resort. Texting, we're all about that. I'm in a million text changes with all my friends. Don't talk to them on the phone. And that really kind of goes for all outreach in general, as far as setting up appointments and really anything like organizing all the parents that I'm, organized with the kids' soccer teams, all that. We text everybody. My parents, boomers, are going to be the exact opposite. They want to have the phone call. They want to be able to call everybody and call their doctor and call, but millennials are totally out of that. I love this picture. This was taken when I was a 10-year-old kid sitting in my parents' living room watching on the big boxy TV. This is a famous shot. This is Michael Jordan hitting the game-winning shot for his 6th ring. And there was a lot of controversy when he came back, would the dynasty break up and what was going to happen with the coach and Dennis Rodman. But he hits this shot, this really iconic shot. And I love looking at the crowd because it's a perfect depiction of this time period, right? Where you can maybe grab 1 or 2 people that are sitting there on their phone or not even on the phone, on a camera and recording it. But everybody in the crowd is living this really cool, iconic moment, as it happens. And you compare and contrast that with today. This is LeBron James breaking the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record. And you look at the crowd here, and I can maybe catch one or two people that are not living this moment through a screen and through their device. Maybe there's a kid up at the top that's not even old enough to have a phone yet. And then at the bottom is actually Phil Knight. He is the co-founder of Nike. So I actually think it's kind of perfect that he's sitting there enjoying this moment, not on his phone. But I mean, it's just a perfect depiction that we are living on our phones. The average person spends 3.5 hours a day on their phone, checks their phone 58 times a day, and 1 in 5 spending 4.5 hours a day on their phone. I'm definitely on that camp. I think I have the timer on my iPhone that goes up at 5 hours. It will beat me, and it's not a great thing, but that's where we are. And what this does, it has diminished our attention span, and it has, I think this is probably actually even outdated now, but we have the average attention span of 8 seconds, which is 1 second lower than that of a goldfish. And so it has positioned all of these companies to be battling for our attention in the digital space, right? Between TikTok and Hulu and ads that we're seeing on Instagram and Facebook, there is a battle to grab attention and fight in this digital space. And really, you have 1 to 2 seconds to be able to even grab the attention of a stranger. A lot of this is because of the world that we live in, of Amazon and Apple, right? I mean, we're the now generation. You get free 2-day shipping and don't even have to leave your house. It's do everything on your phone's generation. And that's the same message that goes with everything that is involved with our technology, right? Like life is easier on the phone. That is the messaging that is just instilled in us. And so knowing that there is this just like absolute battle of time and being able to capture that time that people are on their phone, and how do you kind of get through the noise, right? There's just so much that we're just inundated with on a daily basis. So what catches the eye of the millennial? I'm gonna get like super nerdy in here, and we're gonna like dive into like literal specifics. And I want to preface this section with saying, as we talk about logos and colors and art and everything that has to do with brand and creative, there is no right or wrong answer. I am going to be sharing generalizations, and all day long you would be able to hit me back with exceptions to the rule, but I will show some generalizations of what is working with millennial brands and what is not working. So first, let's dive into fonts. On the left here, you're going to see in the orange, that's a sans serif font, and on the right is a serif font. Sans serif fonts are generally more modern, trendy, techy, up-to-date, and those are the kind of connotations that go with them. Serif fonts are generally known for being a little bit more established or older or classic. You're going to see these on a lot of a different attorney's office or wedding invitations, graduation announcements, things like that. And what I'm calling attention to is you can see like the little, what I call like feet at the bottom of the letters. That is circled here on the white side. Those are the serif. That's part of the actual font. And so we'll go through and you'll actually start to see and recognize the difference of these different fonts. This is a bunch of sans serif logo examples, right? Like none of them have the little feet on the edge, and all of these are really clean cut, really cool looking logos. If I compare and contrast that with a bunch of serif logos, you can start to see the little feet on the end. Nothing is wrong with these practices. I know several of these doctors personally. They're rock star doctors, right? But these are practices that have built their brands really before the internet and are thriving off of referrals only. But if they're having to actually go in and compete for strangers off the internet, and you're kind of comparing and contrasting these new clean looking logos compared to what can be considered an older looking font, older looking style, there's some generalizations that go along with that, right? I mean, if you were to switch out attorney at law down here with bridge and bar, I mean, that would be a perfect attorney logo, right? It just has that feel, has that very established classic look to it. One of the questions that the conversations that I get to have all the time with different doctors is, should I have a tooth or not in my logo? And again, it's one of those things, there is no right or wrong answer, but there are ways to do it that is going to catch the eye of a millennial and ways that aren't. First, I'm going to show some examples that could possibly use an update, right? Where they are all using this tooth that has like a bracket on it, and that's a big sign that is going to be a dated practice, right? Any logo that's built today isn't going to have actual brackets and wires with it, because we know that most of the cases that are going to be used are going to be clear aligners. And so just generally speaking, like, you don't build a logo that doesn't speak to half of what you offer, right? You want to kind of have this all-encompassing brand identity to yourself. So again, rockstar doctors, but they could probably use an update with their logo. Now, compare and contrast that with some examples that have incorporated a tooth into their logo. You see here, Highlands Ranch, they have their Highlands Ranch, Colorado, they have the mountains and kind of hidden in between the background of this tooth. I love this Rose Orthodontics logo, where they actually have it kind of doubling as a rose petal and as a tooth on its side. Really clean, cool, modern font. And then same thing here, right? The Smile Story one, the double S, it doubles as both like a chat logo for the story part of it, the two S's for form a tooth here. But you can definitely see the difference, you know, comparing and contrasting of, this is going to have this dated sense to it. This shows that it is up to date, clean, modern, and it's just a newer feel, newer vibe when you walk in. One of the things too, and I'll pull it back, color is going to have a huge impact on this. There is a reason that most doctors and most orthodontists and dental logos are going to fall in between the blue and the green color palette. Those colors generally invoke the feelings of trust, dependability, strength, peacefulness, health. I absolutely see logos in red all the time, and they work, right? But generally speaking, red is a color that you're going to associate with either restaurant menus, bold, spicy, could be pain, could be blood, could be anything that's just kind of like really like boom in your face. And like looking back, out of all the examples, every single one of these logos has a blue color tone into this. It was kind of funny too, when I was actually putting this presentation together, that was totally unintentional when I was originally going through, and then I put the color slide in and I went back and I was like, wow, I like subconsciously went through and picked out a bunch of blue ones, which I just kind of thought was interesting. Again, we've created logos that are red and orange and yellow, and they absolutely can have their place, and there can be a way to break through some of the commonality or the noise that might be out there. But generally speaking, when you're looking to invoke a feeling in your consumer, there is reasons that blue and greens and kind of those calmer tones can just naturally invoke that feeling. Like you're almost creating more work for yourself to kind of go into the bold red and say, and, you know, don't feel that stress, right? Like feel calm and look at red. It's kind of you're almost battling yourself in the logo. This one is really interesting to talk about, and I feel like I can say it, and I get a lot of doctors that will say, oh yeah, no, that makes sense, but then actually putting it into practice is a totally different story. So I'm going to go through some examples, but it's, don't build your brand to be about you. Do build your brand to be about your patients. And it's so easy to say and it's hard to do. And let me give you an example. First iPod came out, and they could have said, today we're introducing a new portable music player that weighs a mere 6.5 ounces, is about the size of a sardine can, and it boasts voluminous capacity, long battery life, and is lightning fast transfer speeds, right? They could have talked about the gigabytes that it holds, all sorts of stuff, but they didn't. Like, they didn't make it about them. They said iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. They didn't talk about a single one of the features. They literally said, how does this help you? What is so cool about this product that you want it because it's cool for you? They totally took themselves out of the identity of all their descriptions, and it's literally just their name and what it does for you. And this is studied again, you know, in every marketing class ever, right? But it's how do you now incorporate this same idea into your practice? This is something that I see all the time, right? And these are examples of making it about you in your practice, right? It's putting your name underneath the logo with all the DDS, MS, all that. Most people don't even really know what that means, like the average Joe. Most people don't understand the difference of a board certified orthodontist and one that just is a regular orthodontist. Where you went to school, the latest technology, we're going to assume that you already have it. So it's not necessarily something to necessarily brag about, right? Or what groups you lead, or if you teach at a local university. I'll channel my best Stephen A. Smith impersonation when I'm saying, we don't care, right? Like nobody, and I, you know, try not to be offensive about that, but like generally speaking, most people don't care about those things. It's that type of messaging is really going to be all about the doctor. This is a great slide to take a picture of, right? Where it is, these are the things that is going to be beneficial for you to build your brand off of, right? Really emphasizing your costs. Do you offer payment plans? That's the number one thing most people are asking, right? Is how much does it cost? Can I afford this? Are you conveniently located? How close are you to my house? Are you easy to text and communicate with? Can I schedule an appointment online on your website without talking to anybody? What about getting fewer appointments? I don't want to have to take off a Thursday in the middle of the day and drive my kid and go pull them out of school and do a million different things, right? Like, can you tell me that maybe we can do some virtual appointments and I can eliminate the number of times I'm seeing your office? Or this is a big one with, I have several friends that only just want to fix their front 6 teeth, right? Like, is that in your messaging that for a cheaper cost that you offer that they don't want the whole aligner? And then there's some other things, right? It's like, what is the office vibe? Does it feel like we're walking in to go get a colonoscopy, or are we hanging out and actually gonna like laugh and hang out with the doctor? And is it a friendly staff to just kind of get along with and spend your time with? The last two, these are things that I see move the needle quite a bit when we're building ads for clients in digital ads and Google ads. If they don't want to do an offer that is like a monetary amount, like $1,000 off braces if you start, people are really interested in free retainers for life. And that's not doable for every practice. I understand that. But it definitely gets the attention, right? Like, we are definitely in a world where we know that our kids' retainers are getting chewed up by the Roomba vacuum going around, or the dog grabs it, or they lost it for the 4th time. So is it doable? Is that something in your practice that you can say, you know what, I'm going to provide this, I'm going to advertise it, I'm going to show like, hey, you're a patient with me, you're a patient for life, I got you, I'll throw in some free tooth whitening, I'll send out those gel pens with you guys, you have do the molds, you have free retainers if you ever break them. But that type of messaging, really making it about like, I'm going to do everything in my power to make your life easier, that is 1,000 songs in your pocket, right? Like that, none of this even mentions the doctor's name. Obviously, you have to be able to understand like who it's coming from, right? Like you would still say where it's an iPod, you would have your name and your logo, right? But the messaging needs to be about the user. This is shifting gears a little bit, going back into naming your practice. And this can be for either startups, or this can be if you're ever thinking about changing your name, but there's a lot to it that goes into coming up with the right name that makes sense for a couple of different reasons, right? And I always feel like the guy from the Notebook where I'm asking the doctor, like, what do you want, right? They're like, it's not that simple. I'm like, what do you want? This is, we're gonna run through a couple different scenarios, and I'll kind of walk you through what I mean. Let's say I'm going to be opening up an orthodontic practice in my hometown of Parker, Colorado here, and the name Parker Orthodontics is not taken already. That is, and I know I'm going to stay in this town forever and ever, then I should name my practice Parker Orthodontics. The search results in Google for the town name and then the service is always going to win out for SEO. So if you lock in Parker Orthodontics, you are now the SEO king, because that's going to be one of the #1 search thing is service orthodontics. It works the same thing if I'm looking for like Parker plumber, Parker electrician, right? But it absolutely works in orthodontics when you're trying to find strangers from the internet. But that works if I'm going to stay in Parker forever and ever and ever, and I know that's my goal and I want my one shop and that's who I want to be. If all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, you know what, I want to start in Parker, but down the line I want to be up in Lone Tree, I want to be down in Castle Rock, obviously I can't be Parker Orthodontics. So maybe I pick a name like Rocky Plains Orthodontics that kind of, you know, grabs the attention of and is all encompassing of the whole area, the whole region. This works because it allows me to expand. I could jump up to Cherry Creek if I wanted to, Greenwood Village. I could be out in Franktown. I can really kind of expand as much as I want to with this type of name. The challenge here is that obviously you're going to need a really robust SEO program because nobody is Googling the Rocky Plains orthodontist. You're going to get people that are Googling maybe that are coming from referrals, but you're absolutely not just going to be Googled and found that way. So you're going to have to put a lot of effort into your brand, into your presence online, into your Google business profile, and, you know, basically pull every lever that you can to be found that way. Then there's the third scenario, which we see all the time, which is using your name as the business name, right? So if I move into Parker and I'm saying, you know what, I don't want Parker Orthodontics is taken, but I've always wanted it to be Steven Orthodontics. That's great if I know my plans are always to be the one-man shop. Because if I decide to grow, and that's why I did like a big smiley face here, right? But like all of a sudden my practice is growing and I'm busting at the seams here, and I need to bring on an associate, somebody maybe buys into my practice, and now I have to rebrand because it's not just Steven Orthodontics, but it's Steven and Smith Orthodontics. Now I've just created an absolute like SEO nightmare for myself, because now I have to rebrand my website, my new logo, my Google business profile. I have to update the internet and let them know that I've changed all my business listings and everything. And it's a little bit of a reset. And Google doesn't like rebrands. It likes longevity. It likes knowing who you are. There's a lot of work that goes into making sure a rebrand is done correctly. It can be done, by all means, it can be done, but you're creating a headache for yourself. You're creating work. So I like to point out those 3 different scenarios. If you are in the in the camp that you might be renaming, or if you're a startup and you're looking to settle on a name, there's a lot to think about that goes with that. I like this example of this practice. I think they do a really good job. I just kind of like to show it. I like his logo. It uses, a sans serif font, and he just does a really great job of like showing the New Orleans vibe. I love the map in the background, good colors, gets to the point of some of the main questions, easy to schedule online, the chatbot, all that stuff. So I just like showing him as an example that I think does a lot of things right. Jumping in here. This one is going to be, you kind of have to bear with me as I get through this one a little bit, but one of the conversations that I get to have all the time with practices is that want to do ads, and anybody that is thinking about doing Google ads, I want to make a point that is very clear. Digital ads will not save a failing practice, right? If your waiting room is totally empty and you are, desperate and you are looking for like, what can I do to get patients? I would not recommend a digital ads program to that doctor. Digital ads is a really great program for doctors that already have all the other components of marketing going on. And let me show you an example of what I mean. There are 2 classifications we can call of patients that come into an orthodontic office, right? There's going to be your A and B patients and your C and D patients. A and B patients are going to be referrals from a dentist, referrals from patients, family members that have already started, and the younger sibling comes up, and then an incredible school networking and marketing program that you have over there. those patients we know are going to show up to appointments. They're going to be reliable. They're tried and true, right? They are the A and B category. C and D are going to be leads from your website or leads from Google ads, Facebook ads. These are very commonly going to be less reliable, no shows at your appointment. You can absolutely get very successful new starts from the internet. I do this for a living, so I see it all the time. But I like to make it very clear to patients or to doctors that they're going to have to sift through a bunch of other noise. They're going to have to be okay with being annoyed with a lot of junk. And then once you kind of sift through the junk, then you get the leads, then you get the patients. But it's not ever going to be a faucet where you just get to turn on ads, get a bunch of leads. They're all going to start at the same, maybe you have a 70–80% close rate. That's not the case for internet leads. I want to give a great example of this orthodontist who is actually not even a client of ours. I was blown away by his marketing effort though. My daughter, who's 7 years old, she's came home with this bag. And I called and did a little bit more research on what he was doing, but he set up an assembly at their school, went in, handed out a branded bag with a letter to the parents, a bag, the cup, toothbrush, floss, and toothpaste. And he basically went through this list of things, right? He's like, hey parents, I talked about going to the dentist, brushing and flossing your teeth, happy foods versus sad foods, tooth decay, and losing their primary teeth. Right, and so he just, I think he went to every single elementary school in this district alone. You're looking at about 3,000 kids that got this branding sent to their house. They have now the cup, which just sits on all these bathroom counters all over Nixa, Ozark area, and it's a really impressive ground marketing game, right? Fast forward a week later, I'm at the basketball game for the local high school. We're watching a family member, and the same orthodontist has paid for shirts for all the kids in the gymnasium with the school colors, and they're trying to make it into the I think the Final Four for the state tournament here. And on the back, he has his logo, Austin Orthodontics, and he gave them out for free to every single student that's walking in. So they could be in school colors and supporting the basketball team. But that type of ground marketing game was just like so impressive, and that is going to be more effective than just doing Google ads. Now, if Austin Orthodontics comes to me and says, hey, I want to run Google ads, and I see what he's already doing on the ground game, then absolutely. Like if he's already got the ground game going, and then you can complement that with a really comprehensive digital ads program, this guy's going to be unbeatable. Because he literally has his hands all over the area, and he doesn't have all his eggs in one basket. But I love showing that as an example because it was really, really successful. I am by no means a orthodontic consultant. I've got to hear Tracy speak a couple of different times. She really prides herself on being a millennial twist on the orthodontic practice consulting. So if you're interested in in kind of that millennial vibe and the millennial switch in consulting specifically, she's a great person to talk to. And then I like to share a couple of different things that are going on in the industry. These guys are really cool. Smile Suite, what they do is they are a phone service, and so that anybody that's having trouble filling, we hear it all the time, all these different doctors that we talk to, right? But they're having a problem getting staff that is reliable to answer the phone. Smile Suite does a great job of training a full staff, and they actually feel like they're all remote, but they feel like they're part of your staff, and they can book appointments, follow up on leads. They complement a digital ads program really, really well, and they're so nice to talk to. They're super friendly, and they feel like the person calling really feels like they're talking to one of your staff members. So I always like to remind doctors that these guys are out there because they do a great job of just helping doctors answer the phone and doing it the right way. And then these guys are new. I had a conversation with them. They're pretty interesting. The My Ortho VA, they are a fully virtual assistant company, and kind of interesting as well. They dedicate a full-time person that is going to work remote And they do all the training and put them in touch with you guys. They call themselves the eHarmony of assistants, where they're finding good matches for for doctors and for assistants looking for work. And but they train them specifically in orthodontics, and then they kind of hand them off to you. But I thought they were really interesting to learn about, and we've heard some good things from them too. So like I said, we have a lot more in the free training video. I would definitely totally enjoy if you guys want to hit me up at my personal email address for work here, and send me your logo. You can yell at me if you have a red serif logo that's totally killing it, and you want to be like, see, you're totally wrong. I would love to see it, because I know they're out there. But yeah, I'd love to take any questions that you guys have, and that's what I have for tonight. So thank you for attending.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Steven. I am not seeing any questions in the chat box yet, but if you have one, go ahead and type that in now. And while we're waiting to see if any questions pop in, I just want to take a minute to thank everyone for attending tonight. And of course, I want to remind you to check out our upcoming Cutting Edge webinars. Our first 6 months are completely full. I'm still working on getting some more webinars up on our website, but next month's webinars are up, and I will be sending that email out shortly. So stay tuned and check those out. Let me check back on the question box. Nothing. Man, I was really hoping somebody was going to say something about their logo.
I covered everything. There's no questions to be had. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I really wanted to hear that somebody with a red serif font logo was
right. There we go. There we go.
Oh, wait. Okay, hang on. We had one pop in. Okay, with all the rising costs, what would you recommend you can do for free or lower cost?
For free or lower cost, as far as I'm assuming they're kind of talking about the marketing efforts there, as opposed to building the logo, is where I'll kind of assume they're going with that. One of the best things that anybody can do for free is fully fill out their Google business profile. Google is obviously the king of search and where everybody is at, and going to find people on maps is also one of the most common way to find somebody that you're unfamiliar with, right? Like if I know I'm going to a specific orthodontist, I'm going to go Google that specific orthodontist. But if I'm just looking like orthodontist Parker, Google Maps and Google business profiles are where it's at. And so the best thing that you can do for free is go add pictures to your Google business profile, make sure they're up to date. There's videos that you can add, have a bunch of friendly staff photos, and showcase your office if it's a really cool space to be. And then there's services that you can add to those, and pictures and descriptions and links. Google Business Profile is essentially working really hard to not force people to even have to go to a website. You can even fill out your like your online booking availability and everything there. So that's the best free thing that you can do. The other thing you can do is have a really incredible social media game by posting content for yourself. And the best thing, I mean, we could do a whole separate webinar on social itself, but people are drawn to authenticity. Anything that is overly produced, overly edited, feels like an ad, and it's just one of the things that's just like an additional noise in their day. But the videos that are working and that we're seeing getting traction is doctors that will literally take out their phone and like go into portrait mode, and they're like, hey, what's up? You know, and they're just doing a quick update, or like, hey, look what I saw today. Those type of videos, especially showing the doctor or popular or, you know, outgoing staff members, that moves the needle. That feels like people are connected. And so when they see them online, see them on social, now they are walking into the office and they're recognizing those people. They're on their phones, they see them on social. So those are the best two things. And then once you start to get a little bit of a budget behind that, you can then start promoting your own social media videos. It's really cost effective to just do like individual boosts, and they will give you like a lookalike audience. So they will take your audience that is currently following you, and they'll say, okay, we see that you have a demographic of, you know, 15 through, you know, 45-year-olds following you, and they're in this area and this income range and everything. We're going to basically copy and paste that same demographic for a bunch of people that don't follow you, and we're going to boost it to all of them and their friends. And so it's a great way to get eyeballs onto your social media posts for a really cost-effective amount. So, yeah.
All right, great. I do not see any other questions, so I think we can go ahead and wrap things up. But Steven, thank you so much for taking time to present with us tonight. It was great having you with us.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, well, I hope everyone has a great rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
All right, thanks guys.
Bye.
Bye.